Welcome to the Daily Review. This is Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading, and today is January 31st, 2025, and today is Friday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, gold pushing to new all-time record highs. But first, looking at today's major economic events. So we start out the day at 3:30 South African time. From the United States, we have a PCE Price Index number coming out. In addition, we have quarterly corporate earnings for ExxonMobil and Chevron, two of the largest oil companies in the world. Now, looking at the market, starting out with the Forex symbols, the major pairs really unchanged, shifting over to the indices. The Dow Jones gets back to its highs and just sitting there. And looking at the NASDAQ inching higher as well. Now, looking at commodities besides gold, we had crude oil and natural gas slide lower. Now, looking at the stocks, Tesla remains very resilient, even though it missed its target, and Microsoft retracing and sliding lower back to its supportish level. Now, lastly, looking at cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin remains unchanged. So let's take a look at markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So we're going to start here with the Canadian dollar. Now, it spiked yesterday, but it did make a correctional move. Now, remember, yesterday, Bank of Canada had a rate decision. Now, it's not a big deal because it's really day-to-day unchanged, okay? From week to week, hasn't done much, but it has pushed to new record highs and then faked it on the downside. So a lot of things are happening in Canada. It should be kind of interesting. The U.S. just imposed 25% tariffs on imported goods from Canada. So this is going to affect their markets tremendously, okay? So take this into consideration. Now, the Japanese yen trickling just a little bit stronger here this morning, but nothing really to write home about, and all the others really nothing to really write home about. Let's take a look at gold. Hitting all-time record highs, 27.97. If we look at a weekly chart, you can see that it's a bona fide new record high. Now, it's not big, it's only 8 points, but it's record highs. So once we get into record high territory, especially if we pass through and get closer to the 3,000 level, okay, and that can happen, okay, so just be aware of it. Now, I wouldn't chase it at these levels, but I would be aware that it is very strong and it just goes. That's when it goes, it goes. And when it doesn't, it doesn't. But right now it's consolidating. Let's see if it could hold this new gain, or is it just making a double top? Okay, by $8, it's not big of all-time record highs. I'd like to see some volume actually back that up and push it even higher, and then I'd have a little bit more conviction on the upside. Now, looking at crude oil, trickles back lower to $72 a barrel, and so did natural gas back on its low of $3.05. Now, $3 is going to be a supportish level, so keep that in mind. Now, looking at the U.S. market, starting out with the Dow Jones, it's back to its all-time record highs. You could see that on 45,140. The question is whether or not it could hold it. We're going to get a fake out. That's what I'm looking for, because some of the stocks are strong and some of the stocks are not, okay? And they really reflect the big board. Now, looking at the NASDAQ, it's not back to its all-time record highs. It's over 700 to 800 points off of its all-time record highs. This is really super important to pay attention to, because this means there's some relative weakness when it comes to the tech stocks. Now, everybody was crazy about AI. Now, we did have some negative news from Microsoft this past week. We had some negative news from Tesla, although Tesla remained resilient. But let's take a look at Microsoft as a gap down and then sold off to 415. Now, at this area, okay, and you can see it on a weekly chart, we are on bona fide supportish level. So if we break anywhere below 400, that would be a major correction for Microsoft, and that might still happen. Now, Apple was more of a rebound. It also came out with quarterly earning reports. Not so bad, and held itself on the upside. And so looking at the other stocks, all right, what were the other stocks that came out with quarterly earnings reports? Intel came out with quarterly earning reports, added a little bit to that, but nothing really to write home about. But Tesla remained relatively resilient, okay, because we did have that massive gap down, and then we filled the gap, and now we're back down, all right? So, you know, we're still above $400 a share, and that's significant, but it missed its targets, and the question is where it's going to go from here. Maybe it'll catch up next month, next quarter, I don't know, but the proof is going to be in the pudding. If we break anywhere below 375, that will be a bona fide correction for Tesla, and that might still happen, okay? That might still produce itself. Now, NVIDIA did go back to its supporters level at 122, but you could see it's resistant to go any lower, and it's supportive, and it's bouncing off of this area, might come back. Now, Bitcoin remains relatively unchanged, 103 from 102 yesterday. You know, it's been trading in a relatively tight range between 102 and 105, so not something major there as well. So keep that in mind as we go into the weekend. This is Fed Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading weekend. Thank you.